is exactly 4 minutes gone past the hour of 9 on the AM side, and yes, it's that time of the breakfast show where we get to talk, politics and current affairs. By the way, my name is Uduak Daniel, and yes, it is Eagles Morning Risers, Eagles Outlook. That's what it is. This a segment allows for you and I to go engaging and talking about political, topical issues that is burning on the front burner. And the reason we talk about this is not because we have lost, ourselves. It's because we are still on the pathway to finding the trajectory for our lives, our future, and the generations unborn. Even those that are born now, they need to have some hope and succor. And that is why we engage this conversation. Whilst going through my training and discipline at the university, one of those very typical and frontal and essential saying or lines that I used to love is one that says, do not engage the culture of silence. Never engage the culture of silence, because when you go silent in the face of a circumstance or a situation that needs for your voice to be heard, and you go silence, it means that you've lost the very will to leave. And now you don't want to find yourself in that situation. Now, we'll be engaging a human rights activist, a public affairs commentator, and social analyst in the person of Comrade Gerald Okachi this morning. And what is the topical issue? And now that would be about Nigeria's rapid descent into a potentially unsustainable debt trap. Let's set the tone and a background to the discourse this morning. Now, we all know that Nigeria's debt crisis has been a recurring issue. I mean, with the country struggling to manage its debt burden. In the 1970s, though, Nigeria had experienced a similar debt trap, which took almost 3 decades to overcome. Now, the current situation is alarming, with Nigeria's total debt projected to hit a record 136 trillion naira. Now, this has raised concerns about the country's ability to manage its debt sustainably. Now, historically, though, Nigeria's debt burden has been exacerbated by factors such as corruption, mismanagement, even a lack of transparency. Now, the country's reliance on oil exports has also made it vulnerable to fluctuations in global oil prices. Now, let me take you back in recent years where Nigeria has sought to diversify its economy, but the progress for diversification is seemingly slow. Well, the current administration's decision to seek external borrowing to finance the 2024 budget has raised eyebrows. Now, this is something that we have spoken or mentioned here. We've talked about it. We brought guests to talk about it and all of that. But it seems as though it is still very consistent and persistent. The borrowing is seemingly must go on. Now, the National Assembly's approval of the 1.77 trillion naira, which is the 2.2 billion US dollars external borrowing plan, has sparked concerns about the country's ability to repay the loan. Now, if you also realize that the presidency had also lambasted, is it the National Assembly now, saying that, look, all of the approvals for our borrowing is not without your consent. So are you acting as though you are unaware of, these borrowings, as if you are not also having your hands, deep in the entire process? But then Nigeria's total debt, of course, the projection is about 136 trillion naira. By the way, this is very disturbing, though. And the country's debt burden is increasing by 50 trillion naira in 19 months, right? Go check those now. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration has sought to finance the 2024 budget through external borrowing, which has raised concerns about the country's ability to repay the loan. Now, I remember that you and I, we've had that conversation, even up until this morning, right, where you have mentioned that it's not really about the borrowing. Borrowing, okay, fine, welcome development and all of that, but it's about what we are even using these monies for. But this time, we'll be looking at it from a different perspective. It's not just now about even borrowing or what you're using the money for. I mean, what the monies are intended for. It's about, can we even repay? Because over time, what we've been doing has been largely, is it the financing, I'm losing the words now to put out there, right? But okay. When I get it, I'll let you out, on it. But it's more like I get it. Servicing. We're servicing the budget. We're not even repaying loans. We're just servicing the interest on the budget, or on the borrowed funds. That's what we do basically. But then the country's debt servicing expenses has now increased by 68.8% to 6.04 trillion naira in the first half of 2024, up from 3.58 trillion naira in 2023. Now, Nigeria's external debt stands at 42.9 billion US dollars, while domestic debt has risen to 71.2 trillion naira. Now, the country's debt to GDP ratio has increased to 55% in June. As of June, it was 55%, June 2024, up from 50% in March and 42% in December of 2023. So let's look at what the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, has got to say. Well, he stated that Nigeria's ability to access the international capital market indicates acceptance and support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's economic reforms. However, though, experts have raised very critical concerns about the country's ability to repay its debt. They cited the China Exim Bank's rejection of Nigeria's $22 billion US loan request. That was last year. That's right. They outrightly, blatantly said, no, we are not giving you that loan. China Exim said that. Well, also a few days ago, we saw the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, that's talking about the LCCI, in a press release expressing concerns over the federal government's plan to borrow $2.2 billion US, citing weak economic fundamentals and a lack of understanding of how to navigate the challenges facing the economy. Well, Nigeria's debt servicing expenses have also increased by 68.8%, to 6.04 trillion naira in the first half of 2024. Well, I already said that to you right there. Right now, ministers in Tinubu's administration have defended the borrowing plans, and now they have stated that they are necessary to finance the 2024 budget and support the country's economic growth. However, critics are arguing that the government's reliance on borrowing is unsustainable and will only lead to further economic woes. Now, the proposed loan, if approved, will be used to part finance the budget deficit of 9.7 trillion naira for the 2024 budget. Now, this has also raised concerns, about the country's ability to service its debt, with some experts warning that Nigeria's debt burden may become, in no distant time, unsustainable if the government continues to rely heavily on borrowing. And now it brings to mind the question of, putting it out there that, look, hey, where are we going with all of this? I mean, some are saying that it is necessary for us to do the borrowing because it will go a long way in fixing, some of the dilapidated infrastructures in terms of development and all of that, and making sure that we don't have a carryover. But the likes of Asan Agbakoba has come out to saying that, look, maybe we should have borrowed even more. Maybe we'll just do 100,000, once and for all, and we'll just be 100 trillion, I beg your pardon, 100 trillion US dollar borrowing, and that would have just done everything. Now, remember that the part of the crux of the conversation would be about repayment of these loans and the concerns that this has raised. I mean, the LCCI is already talking. The presidency, have also come out to saying that, look, all of the borrowings have been done, not without the awareness of the National Assembly, and senators have come to, calling out the president and saying, hey, what's going on with this borrowing? Must we borrow as it stands, especially in the face of all of this? But some have said it is only mere optics. They just giving us mere rhetorics. It's just to show, that we are trying to give solidarity and all of that. What are they trying to show? That they are on the side of the masses? What are they trying to show? That they have concerns or they are really bothered about, our borrowing, especially this borrowing, where the year is already coming to a close. I mean, barely how many days to go, and we're still making this borrowing and all of that. Some are saying that, well, it's necessary and all of that. Regardless, I don't know what you think, but we'll be getting on with our guest in a short bit. But then let me get on, to bring in, some encounter that I had. Now, many Nigerians are quite worried about the country's rising debt. I mean, the burden is just too immense. The impact on the economy and all of that, with the country's debt service and expenses increasing. Now, there are concerns that the government may struggle to provide essential services such as healthcare and education. Now, I was speaking with a Nigerian I think that was last week right there. And he wished to remain anonymous, though. Wanted to mention his name and all, but he said no. Now, he says, I am worried, in his words, says, I am worried about the future of our country. The government's decision to borrow more money to finance the budget is alarming. Now, there was one thing he asked that thing is what, sent chills down my spine, and that would be, how will we repay these loans? Right? How will we repay these loans? Well, we understand that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has put out there 4 bills, to help, in tax reform bills, that he calls it, and all of that, and is suffering a backlash at the moment. But he's still very consistent, very insistent that that tax bill still holds. It will stand regardless of the setbacks. That if anything, it should undergo some repairs while at the floor of the Senate or the National Assembly right there. Deliberation should be going on. Well, then, it will also suffice to know that even the NBS had said, well, we have experienced some growth economically. That's right. In terms of economic growth, we have had an economic growth that seemingly puts a smile on the face of the Mr. President right there. Experts have also expressed some concerns about it, lauding that, growth that we've had. But quite a number of Nigerians are already saying that, hey, you say that we have the growth, but we are not seeing these things, find its bearing in our lives. So what is the essence of an economic growth when we are not finding it funny in the country, when the reality and your statistics are not merging? They are not finding semblance and all of that. In the same vein, the Labour had protested the drop in unemployment rate report, according to the NBS. In fact, the Nigeria Labour Congress had described the drop in Nigeria's unemployment rate as released in a report by the National Bureau of Statistics on Monday as fictitious. In fact, they call it fiction. They stressed that it contradicts the reality. Well, we've always had that issue already before now, where the reality is contradicting, statistics. But we have our guest who is on standby by phone call right there, Comrade Gerald Okachi. That's right. Comrade Gerald Okachi is one who is, a resource person in his likes. It is very, very form. One of the finest that we've had, come talk to us about some of the issues that we face. Now, he's a human rights activist, a public affairs, commentator, and social analyst, and is joining us via phone call as we go engaging this morning. Keep in mind that the topic would be Nigeria's rapid descent into a potentially unsustainable debt trap. Comrade Gerald Okachi, good morning and welcome to Eagles Outlook this morning.
Yes, a very good morning to you at our wonderful listeners on the best radio station in FCT and by extension
Oh,
Nigeria.
now you put a smile on our face, comrade. Thank you so much for that one. Well, Nigeria's rapid descent into potentially unsustainable debt trap. Quite a number of sides to it. LCCI, have come to, allay their fears, saying, hey, how would we repay these loans? I mean, I had a conversation with a Nigerian last week, in one of my conversationalist tour, I'd like to call it, right? And he says, how do we repay these loans, with all of these borrowings? But the senators have also come out to calling out the federal government and saying, hey, federal government, you need to put a soft pedal on this borrowings. Is it really necessary for us to borrow to finance the 2024 budget and all, or shouldn't we move it to the 2025 budget, which quite a number of persons, including San Agbakoba, is saying that, well, $100 trillion borrowing would have been just fair, so that we just knock off everything that we have on our plates and ensure that we got it rightly this time, and ensure that these infrastructural developments, capital developments and all of that will be put in the right shape so that it can internally generate the revenue, and of course allow for us to have a good taxation system that would allow for us to also maybe not just service our debts this time, but then pay off these debts and see how far that goes. What comes to your mind? How does this hit you, as a Nigerian?
Nigeria's rapid accumulation of debt, has become a critical concern, with alarming and warning debt trap. And, the rising debt levels is as a result of a lot of things. Nigeria's total public debt has soared, fueled by sexy borrowing to finance budget deficit, infrastructure projects, and social programs. At the same time, external debt has also grown due to international borrowing, while domestic debt remains a significant burden. Though Nigerian debt to GDP ratio is relatively low compared to some countries, its revenue to debt service ratio is also alarming, where you have almost, I think, under Buhari, we are spending more than 50% of our budget in debt servicing, and a significant portion of government revenue is consumed by this debt servicing, leaving little for essential services. And because we are running in an economy that is so dependent on oil revenues, the country's fiscal position is heavily reliant on oil revenue, which are volatile. Declining oil prices or production disruptions, with regards to vandalism, oil theft, and what have you, exacerbate physical challenges. Now you look at exchange rate vulnerabilities. Depreciation of the naira, increasing the cost of servicing foreign debts, further straining the budget, and that is what I think that IMF and World Bank really wanted. When they begin to push all these capitalism policy reforms, to make it almost impossible for us to, pay our debts and weakening our naira, making us to be totally and unending dependent on them. Now, you look at the poor revenue mobilization, where Nigerian tax revenue as percentage of GDP is one of the lowest globally, limiting its capacity to generate sustainable internal resources.
Right.
You look at rising poverty and inequality, high debt servicing, obligations divert funds from critical sectors like health, education, infrastructure, sports, exacerbating, socio-economic challenges. Now, if you put all these things together, you ask yourself, why do we continue to borrow? Why do we continue to borrow? What are the ways out of this debt trap that continuous government have continuous, to present for Nigerians now and the ones to come? You understand?
Right.
It's okay. What are the ways out?
But comrade,
That's trap.
yeah, comrade. Yeah, comrade, when you talk about the way out, I mean, let me just chip it in already. I mean, we have seen reforms by the, Tinubu administration where the president has sent 4 tax reform bills. It's on the table of, the Senate right now for deliberation. We have also seen the back and forth that is going on with that bill at the moment, where, of course, those from the northern region, the high and mighty are saying, no, we don't agree with this. This is more like a trap. I'm glad we're already talking about debt trap. So this is a trap to trap and impoverish the northern region and all of that. Yeah. And the president has been insistent that no, he's not taking it back. Don't you think that would be one of the ways? Now, another would be the place of diversifying of the economy, where quite a number of Nigerians, quite a number of us have, seen the efforts of the current administration, but that because the president has been the only president who had gone internationally in the face of an international, summit. I think it is a World Economic Summit sometime, this year, where he said that one of the finances of terrorism is illegal mining. Something that I don't think anybody has ever really spoken about, past presidents and all of that. I don't think anybody has really said that. But the question is, it goes beyond just talking about it. What are we doing about it? Isn't that a way to keep these things, on the low?
Yes, you did. You made mention of tax reforms that the government is pushing. That many analysts and observers, have shared concern, worried concern, especially produced from the northern extraction.
Yes.
I'm not from the north, but I have my own reservation, and I'm also worried with the tax reforms, looking at our poverty ratio.
Right.
It's not just only tax reform that you can, find your ways out of these debt traps.
Okay.
We must not depend on tax reform. Aside tax reforms, there are a lot of things we can do. One of the things I think we can do is one of the things you mentioned, diversification. Invest in non-oil sectors like agriculture, technology, manufacturing to reduce dependence on oil. We can as well invest in tourism, entertainment, sports. There are a lot of things we can do that can generate even much more than what we are earning.
But let me ask you. Let me
finish.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
Now, that is one out of...
Okay. Comrade, are you there? Okay, well, I'll have to get back with him right there, just for us to, have that conversation. I mean, it's still Eagles Morning Risers, Eagles Outlook this morning. And yes, we're looking at Nigeria's rapid descent into potentially unsustainable debt trap. And Comrade Gerald Kachi is, the one that we are engaging this morning as we go conversational this morning, right? Well, you two can add your voice. I mean, let's open the phone lines too, so that you can add your voice and tell us, do you think that we have any, way out of this quagmire, of this crossroad that we have found ourselves? Can we indeed take ourselves out of this, story, this narrative? Or have we not done, some immense, have we not made giant strides in this regard to seeing that we come out of the woods on this? Or is there something more that we probably are not seeing? Maybe a gray area, that we should indeed put our, searchlights and see to understand, so that we can have a better understanding of how to take ourselves out of this, and some of the concerns and fears that many Nigerians have had in this regard. Well, you already know the number, 0907-353-0044. Comrade, are you there?
Yes, like I was saying, the network is very poor. Frustrating.
Yeah.
I say, apart from diversification, you can look at privatization of government-owned assets, like these refineries that we have. Successive government has spent over $20 billion. I think Buhari regime, say he spent the last mobilization was about $2.1 billion just to do rehabilitation or turnaround maintenance on the 4 refineries. We look at monetizing those assets, through PPP, public-private partnership, or outright sale. You look at the restructure the debt, where debt relief and rescheduling engage creditors to renegotiate terms or seek relief, just like Basanjo did in his regime, or shift to concessional loans, prioritize low interest loans from development partners over expensive commercial debt. You look at control spending, like we have seen in that case, reduce waste, cut down governance, corruption, inefficiency, and non-essential expenditures that we have seen all over time. You look at targeted subsidies that replaces, for example, the fuel subsidy. We targeted intervention to assist the vulnerables. You look at improvements on governance and transparency, like we are lacking heavily in this government. Strengthening institutions to ensure fiscal discipline, adopt transparent mechanism for borrowing expenditure to restore investors' confidence. You look at economic growth and job creation, to implement and encourage private sector driven or investment and entrepreneurship. You focus on human capital development to build a skilled workforce that drives productivity. Now you look at exchange rates, monitoring policies, stabilize the naira through reforms that unify multiple exchange rates and promote foreign investment, encourage export promotion and import substitution to balance trade. You look at regional and international cooperation. Among many, there are a lot of things we can, look at apart from this tax reform. Now you look at even bringing people that can help. It is on record that we have people like Abdurrashid Maina, who has helped successive government from Jonathan government to Buhari government to recover funds in trillions of naira, my brother, and he still has capacity to even. Just last week we saw the Minister of Finance, telling us that over $20 billion was recovered from the fuel subsidy removal. You understand? Mm-hmm. You ask yourself, you have $20 billion, and you are going about to borrow $2.2 billion. Does it make any sense? That is the areas of this transparency we are talking about. Now you look at persons like that, Miner, who has that capacity to actually help us, help Nigeria come out of the wood. Under Goodluck Jonathan, he recovered over 1.6 trillion naira, 237 properties, among other things. Under Buhari, he recovered 1.3 trillion or thereabouts. And at the end of the day, he's been. The other time I visited Kuje to one of my clients, there are reports that most of the consultants in government that are looking for a way to help this government are still moving heavily, going to him, besieging the Kuje, requesting Minor to help them recover the funds contracted to them. But he has always maintained that if president needs funds, he knows where to get in. You understand? If we have these people, we have, of course, Oko Obuno Bobla, who also tried to help this government under Buhari. And we saw the same way Mina was frustrated and finally put to Kuje. How the same Oko was also frustrated. This money we are borrowing, we can get it inward. People that have looted this country dry. People that have really frustrated this country. People that have zeroed their conscience. If one man can have a whopping sum of over 20 billion naira in his account, why are we borrowing? If you look at the things indices, I was reading Oko reports on one of the podcasts. He was saying that one director in the power ministry, he recovered over 500 million naira worth of vehicles, Mercedes-Benz, that did not go through custom. He had over $69 billion he wanted to recover. Just like Mina also have reports that they say he wanted to recover Nigeria over 33 trillion naira. And why are we frustrated? Like when we have people that can actually help, we are using greed because he was demanding for his percentage or commission for the ones he has recovered. And at the end of the day, technically, on one way or the other, they push him to Kuje to suppress his voice so that Nigerians will not know what he's facing and why he's there. They cook up stories that look like true. There are a lot of things we can do to come out of the wood. Apart from this show that we do that we are going into agriculture.
Right.
What have we really done in agriculture? If you recall, before the independence in 1960, Nigerians were, in fact, the major source of revenue for Nigeria was in agriculture. We have granite pyramid, we have cocoa, we have palm oil, and what have you. And some of the money that British we are using to, colonize us, we are getting from these farm products. And there are reports that we still have some equity over there. Over 30% of equity from 1945 to this that Nigeria have not really tapped in. That we can as well recover. There are a whole lot of things we can look inward, look at experts, look at those technical know-how. Leave all these shenanigans of wicked people that are looking for ways to enrich themselves and claiming to love Nigeria more than others. That we even seen under Buhari regime. Where any good mind that make efforts to recover things for Nigeria because of their greed to divert or reloot that, they will either send the person to Kuje or they push the person out of the way. This government is very serious. They know what to do. Well, they know people to engage to help them recover this rather than continue to borrow to subject us to unending suffering.
All right, comrade, we'll get back with you. Let's go pay some bills. We'll get back with you in a short bit, right? Yeah, thank you. Well, conversation is still trending right here, and you already know that this is Eagles Outlook. Let's just go out there, pay some bills. When we come back, of course, it will be about you and adding your voice and telling us your thoughts. Remember, the WhatsApp portal number 0909 705 4450 is open for your WhatsApp messages only, as well as the voice numbers too. Don't go away.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Wow, this feature phone is so good.
Which phone is that?
It is the itel IT5627. It comes with a 2500 mAh battery, which gives you 55 hours of standby use. Type-C charger, triple SIM slot, 3.0-inch screen, plus a 24 months warranty of worry-free use.
Huh? 24 months warranty?
Yes! Go and get yours. itel IT5627. New itel, new experience.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
Please listen to this infomercial.
Hello Nigeria. Hello Africa. Do you want to work in the healthcare sector? Do you want to be a trained certified nursing assistant, medical assistant, or caregiver? If yes, then register to enroll for Push Africa's 1-year diploma in certified nursing assistant training happening at the African University College of Science and Technology, Abuja. Targeted trainees are unemployed graduates, O-level or ordinary diploma graduates, or anyone interested in working as a support worker in the healthcare sector. For details, log on to www.pushafrica.org or WhatsApp 080-339-42015, 080-550-45801, 080-339-42015, 080-550-45801. For registration, pick up application form at our partner radio stations or visit the reception at the African University of Science and Technology, Abuja.
Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja. Here to stay.
I don't need no liquor. I'm intoxicated by you.
My country people, who work is supposed to enjoy you after all the hustle. You not supposed to take your comfort play to fit sleep the way it's supposed to be. Make you go grab your Eurofoam mattress. Make you forget your full comfort. Whether na Euro Spring, Euro Orthopedic, or semi-orthopedic, Diamond and Diamond Plus. And for Comfort Pro Max, Eurofoam don't introduce latest in town. That na Euro Elite. This one, they sleep jolly meant no get equal. Eurofoam get quality pillows and sheetings. Eurofoam shop yakpa everywhere for Bodo Nigeria. Eurofoam, sleep the
2.3 Abuja.
Still in the discuss right here on Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja, where we give you an audio-visual radio experience that you can count on any time of the day. Get across social media platforms at Eagles FM Abuja and join the conversation. Remember, Nigeria's rapid descent into potentially unsustainable debt trap is what we are looking at. Comrade Gerald O. Kachi is our guest. He's a human rights activist, public affairs commentator, and social analyst. Now, you too can add your voice. 0907-353-0044 is that number for you to call. And the other number would be 0908-766-8888. Hello and good morning to you.
Hello, good morning, Eduardo.
Yes, good morning to you too, my brother.
I like your voice, Jonathan. My name is John from Sulawesi.
All right, John, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Talk to us.
Yes. Can you see what is happening now? The executive, as we in the prologue when we painted, indirectly accusing National Assembly of watching and contributing while this borrowing is going on. If there is any sector or any arm of government I'm so disappointed so far, is this 9th and 10th National Assembly members. Honestly speaking, they have done us a lot of damage. They are just interested in their own personal pocket, leaving the core business of National Assembly, looking at it deteriorating, watching an executive have a field day, go and borrow. Yeah, you can imagine what Buhari borrowed in his own time, and they told us that anything that Buhari signed, they will approve it. And because he means well for Nigeria. So after leaving office, how much have we left as a credit for us to be paying? Now, the same thing is going on in this 10th National Assembly. Have they done better? They are just sitting down watching. This thing, you see, before any executive goes on borrow, there must be very big debate in the National Assembly to the advantage and disadvantage of it. What is their input? Honestly, I'm disappointed in them because all of them are just interested in what benefit them, not what benefit matters. I think they are not representing anybody.
Right.
Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you so much, John, for that one. Appreciate that one. All the way from Suleja, John is putting his voice out there. Well, comrade, let me take WhatsApp message now, and we'll get back with you now in a short bit. Samuel from Kuje is, standing on existing protocols now. He's saying borrowing. The government is saying that they borrowed with the approval of the National Assembly, and the National Assembly is saying otherwise. What exactly is happening between the executive and the legislatures? With all these borrowing, yet there is no improvement economically, but the government is telling us that there is growth in the economy. Is this growth only in their pockets? What is the use of the economic growth when most Nigerians are still eating from hand to mouth? A lot of people go to bed without food. Some find it difficult to pay house rent, to pay hospital bills when they fall sick, and they are telling us that the economy is growing. How and where? Any economic growth that is not affecting the masses positively is not real growth, but growth on paper. Nigerians are still struggling with the high cost of living, yet they are telling us that there is growth in the economy. The amount of money borrowed by this government, if shared to every Nigerian, each person will be paying millions of naira, thereby making us slaves to those who borrowed us these monies. UD, all right, remain richly blessed and wonderfully okay. Amen, amen. In Jesus' name you say that. Amen. Well, I appreciate that one from you, Samuel. Well, let's get back with you, comrade. There's been some shared thoughts. James had called in. Now, we've seen Samuel, all the way from Kuje, also talking about these issues of borrowing, where the back and forth between the National Assembly as well as the various ministries or the relevant agencies that have been into the borrowing. Even the Minister of Finance, Wale Aduntu, trying to back the entire process of borrowing. In fact, telling us as well from the NBS perspective that, oh yes, our economy is growing, but then Nigerians are asking in the voice of Samuel right there that where is the economy growing if it does not match the reality? And the bone of contention has always been, can we even repay this debts in terms of even servicing this debts?
That is the silent question, and it's unfortunate that under this administration we don't really have a National Assembly. What we have is a ruling mate, if I may put it, or soulmate with regards to the executive as National Assembly. The essence of having National Assembly, who are supposed to be independent, another arm of government, is for the purpose of check and balances. But that is not what we are getting under this leadership of Senate President Akpabio, I think. You know, it's unfortunate that a lot of things have gone wrong. Just recently, I saw one of the senators on the TV, saying that even the jets we purchased for the president did not go through the National Assembly, that he never saw any document, nobody presented anything. You look at some of the spendings that are going on that never and ever go through the National Assembly. One, just look, you look at the coastal highway that we are building, wherein you see that there was no bidding or no proper processing, and that nobody is talking. These are the jobs of the National Assembly. So, as Nigerians, as a member of the civil society, as a rights activist, I'm no longer looking up to the National Assembly with regards to the intervention on our excessive borrowing or with regards to some of the
what do we look up to if we don't look up to the National Assembly? If we don't look up to the National Assembly, what do we look up to then?
We must find we must devise a means, who are the government? The people that are the government. We must devise a means of talking to our government, making them to hear, drawing their attention, because if we have National Assembly that is sincere and up and doing, some of the things that are going wrong will not go wrong. What we have as National Assembly today, majority of them are after their personal interests, enrichment, aggrandizement, and what have you. So that is what they are doing. A situation where they see a sincere person that will work for the interests of the country, and they will be making a demand for such person. If the person does not live up to expectation, maybe you see cook up stories. You see cook and book story. You just like some of the people I have mentioned. There are over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 persons you can mention that can help this country, but they have been frustrated out of the way. Once they have been frustrated, they will mislead the media, give one stories that look like truth, and before Nigerians are quick to condemnation. They will buy into it before they will do damage control and come out of it. Damage has been done on this nation. So that is why I say one looking up to, depending on the National Assembly, to do the right thing. It's just like living ending paradise.
Okay, let me.
The hardship we are facing today will not be facing it.
Yeah, let's put a peg
on the executive to stop the excessive borrowing. You saw
just before you go on. Just before you go on, please. Let's just take this call. All right, that's a miss, though. Well, keep the calls coming through. You already know 0907-353-0044 is that number, to call. Right. All right. So, comrade, you were saying.
Yes. If we have a robust National Assembly, they will ask questions. You can't be telling us with your right hand that we have made a savings of over $20 billion. From fuel subsidy removal, and the essence of removing subsidy, increasing almost all the services from hiking electricity tariff to other things, was to fund this budget, was to see that we don't borrow, was to see that we any project we set out to do, we will do it with ease. So if we remove subsidy to move price of petrol from less than 200 naira to over 1,000 plus, why are we borrowing, for Christ's sake?
All right, let's take this call. Hello and good morning.
Yes, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning to you. Yes, please. Is this Omotayo?
Thank you so much. Yes, this is Omotayo. Reaching you from Galadima.
Awesome, Omotayo. Let's get into it already.
Yes. Thank you so much. I want to say a big kudos to your speaker, your guest speaker. In fact, I don't know, I just love this man. Every time he comes on air, I'm delighted because as he speaks, something in my heart just rejoices. Because the man is saying the truth, nothing but the truth. I mean, look, Dr. Udwak, in order not to repeat what he has said before, because he has spoken almost all I want to say, it is not okay to just conclude that it is looters that are taking over the affairs of this country. I mean, those who are leaders of this country, they are looters. Because look, let me tell you, a looter is somebody who sees his own personal interest above the interest of whoever he is representing. And if these guys are leaders, they are supposed to represent Nigeria. They are not representing Nigeria. Rather, they are after their own personal pocket. They know the truth. They don't do the truth. They know where the problem is. They don't go after the problem head on. I tell you, these guys are, it is okay to just say they are looters in the affairs of this country. And that is what it is. Look, I have said it before. Our problem is we have a problem of corruption and lack of effectiveness of our law. Our laws are dormant. Our laws are not being effective. People commit crimes, loot, and they don't get to be tried after their time in office. And that is our problem. And if we continue like that, this is the same thing we will continue to experience. It will just be a roundabout. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? So that's just it. Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you, Omataya, for that one. Right. All right, Omataya right there, giving his thoughts. Well, comrade, just before I let you, add your voice, to that, let's go take this message from the WhatsApp portal. Good morning, Daniel. I'm listening from Nasarawa State. This is coming from Tekembi Hundu. Thank you, Tekembi. It says, I want to ask your guest a question. Tinubu said the idea of subsidy removal was to save more money for infrastructure development. Others, but with this continuous borrowing, where is the money saved from subsidy removal after 1 year, right? That's what Tekembi Hundo is asking right there. And Abbas is saying, good day, sir. Abbas all the way from Dutse. Point of correction, he says, government borrowing has both positive and negative aspects. We shouldn't always dwell on the negative aspect of borrowing. Government borrowing does not automatically result to poverty. When OBJ cleared Nigeria's debt, did we all jump into affluence? No, he says. When you are out there, you won't understand the financial difficulties it takes to govern Nigeria without borrowing. What we need to do as a people is question how the monies borrowed are being judiciously disbursed. All right, it says thanks right there, and I should bring this one out, and then of course you give us your final thoughts on the matter. This one is coming from Yunusa Dantani Ibrahim from Abaji. He says good morning to you too. I'm Yunusa Dantani Ibrahim from Abaji. It will be unethical if money is borrowed without approval of National Assembly. I think federal government should understand the best thing to do. Borrowing should be in the right channel or through the right channel. It should not be also considered as an act of financial shenanigan. Federal government should go back to drawing board and tell Nigerians what they want to do with the funds. Thanks, he says. Right. Now, comrade, you've heard Nigerians speak.
Well, one of the contributors asked a question with regards to
subsidy removal.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's regime removing subsidy and for the purpose of funding projects at the same time borrowing. I'm not in government. I'm not civil servant to, or even the National Assembly to even know what they are doing. But from the reports we are getting, it's obvious that either the government is not being transparent or honest with us, or maybe they are doing hide and seek with Nigerians. One of our contributors talked about that we should not dwell on the negative aspects of the borrowing. And they made mention of Obasanjo. But let's be honest. Just recently, Obasanjo criticized and passed a message with regards on how you can run an electoral empire, and it was being criticized. A lot of misleading and misinformation we are shared in the public. Some say that he spent over $16 billion on the power. At the end of the day, the current power minister, that is Honorable Dedayo, they came out to say that he spent, I think, around less than $8 billion. And this impact is what we are still benefiting today. If under his regime for 8 years, from 1990 to 2007, he raised what he met on ground, about 2,000 megawatts of electricity to over 4,000 plus. And up to date, we are yet to hit 6,000 megawatts. We will go to tell that he did marvelously well. But then, talk about borrowing. He got us debt relief, forgiveness. And we saw the impact in the economy. We saw the impact in our value for naira to dollar. We can use, then minimum wage was around 7,000 naira. With 7,000 naira, you can manage a family for one good month. But even with 90,000 naira or 70,000 naira today, as the case may be, as a minimum wage, you cannot even buy fuel your tank for one trip. Say you are moving from here to local, as the case may be, you cannot fuel your tank. You see that there's no sincerity or purpose. You can't be telling us that you save $20 billion, which translates to close to 10 trillion naira or 9.30 trillion naira, which they claim is a deficit to 2024 budget. At the same time, you are going about borrowing $2.2 billion, which translates to over 1.77 trillion naira. Who is fooling who? Let's tell ourselves the truth. If we are being honest and sincere about ourselves, as a people, we shouldn't be doing things like that. You can't tell us one thing today, another, just like what shenanigans hide and seek we are doing with NNPCL. Today they will tell us this refinery will work. Tomorrow they will say they are just running it. Another day they will use another technical language to confuse the learned. So, in summarizing, let us move away from wastefulness that we have seen this current administration doing. Cut down cost of governance. Look at implementation of Rusai's report. You can't be telling us you want to implement Rusai's report. You give 6 weeks timeline. At the same time, we see you expanding your appointments, creating more ministries, and what have you. We should be looking at cutting down costs. Some of the things that are not relevant, like this private, new private jet they purchased for the president. What's the need for that? We have over 5 to 9 private jets. If one is having issue, you can work on with others. What's the sense of building new residential place for the vice president? When we still have Osibanjo and Sambo and many other vice presidents state, amazing economic hardship. We are looking at the frivolities, that things that does not matter, and we are spending money on that. Now, you look at people that can help this country. They have used misinformation, hate, suppression, intimidation, and harassment to take them out of the way. If persons like Abu Rashid Maina is in Kuje and they claim that somebody who recovered trillions of naira for the government, he looted 2.something billion, and they are owing him over 100 plus billion, 5% of what he recovered for them, both from Jonathan regime to Muhammad Buhari regime. If somebody that recovers such and you are owing over 100 and you are claiming that he looted 2.2, that you cannot even really substantiate, can't you remove from what you are owing him, from what you claim he looted, and release what you are owing him? But because they don't want the public to know what is happening, they shielded him away and put him in prison. Okono came, Obla, tried to help. I watched one of the videos where he said that the former Attorney General of the Federation was looking at the wife and laughing sarcastically, making jest of it, that I think your husband said he will help us to recover $60-something billion, $69 billion. How do we get to people that did not mean well for the country?
Right. Well,
so the president will look at these people,
right,
go to them, get them to work. Forget about all these things they are creating in the public. Get them to work.
All right, comrade, I want to say a big thank you to you. I appreciate your time, having this conversation with us. One of the ways that you've mentioned is looking into agriculture, looking into mining. You also advocated for the privatization of the 4 refineries that we have as a means of generating, funds for the country and desisting from the excessive or continuous borrowing that we are, going through. Tourism and all of that. Right.
Today, every weekend we sit down to watch Premier League, watch La Liga.
Right.
Giving them money, giving those countries, like European countries, money by viewership.
Well,
they can even take care of our budget.
Right. Let's put a close to it now for want of time. Time is not on our side, but thank you, far too kind. We appreciate you. Looking forward to more conversation with you in the coming days.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Well, and to you too, that has been a part of it in listening and trying to put a call through and all of that. Well, thank you so much. Tomorrow is yet another day. Be sure to be punctual as we go engaging in the discourse via this platform. Well, Midday Extra Show, 10 a.m. is what you'll be having in a short bit. Don't go away.